Welcome to I Could Never, a show about non-monogamy and the many ways it can look. My name is Genevieve from Chill Polyamory on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And I'm joined as always by my co-host and partner, Ishik.
Yes, sweltering in the hot summer sun indoors here in Berlin.
Where they don't have air conditioning.
I'm Ishik. What's up? How's it going? Welcome to our guest today, Willie Burnley Jr., the City Councilor and mayoral candidate for the city of Somerville, Massachusetts, where he has led the nation in developing legal protections for polyamorous citizens, along with many other wonderful things. So, Willie, thank you so much for joining us here today.
No, thank you both for having me. This is kind of like a dream come true in a certain sense.
Aw, that's sweet.
That's awesome.
Well, we are excited to learn more about you, but I think beforehand...
Excuse me.
I've stolen your intro to Vibrant.
All upon my toes. It's Vibrant time.
It's Vibrant time.
It's Vibrant time, and it's toe-stepping time.
For anybody who is watching for the first time, we have a little icebreaker called Vibe or Vent, where we go around and just talk about something that we're either excited about this week, that we're vibing about, or something that we're pissed about, that we need to get off our chest. So... Ishik, would you like to start us out?
Oh, no. Since we're on toe-stepping day, you're going to go ahead and be in the hot seat. You get to be first this time. Okay. If you introduce it, you take the lead.
I'm going to keep it light today, actually, because I'm vibing. I have a new friend. I don't know. I gush about new friends like I do, like new crushes or new partners. I have a friend that I've known for a couple of years, and we've gotten closer, and we collaborated on a creative project together. And in the back of my mind, I was like, I hope we can be friends, but Germans can sometimes take time, years, to open up. And we got Japanese shaved ice today, and it just felt really comfortable. And I just realized, like, oh shit, we're friends, you know? It just kind of dawned on me. And so I'm feeling warm and fuzzy because it can be hard to really build deep friendships, especially in like a new country. So that's what's going on for me today. Willie, I would love to know, are you vibing or are you venting today?
I'm vibing. I'm really glad that we're talking about this right now because, any other minute of any other day, who knows how I would be feeling. But we just had a great canvas yesterday, followed by our first Willie Fest, like a local concert music series. Yeah, it was great to just see people come out supporting local artists, supporting our arts ecosystem. Somerville, not to go on too long about it, but Somerville is a really creative place and has long been seen as a very artsy space. But like so many other places, it's getting harder to afford to live here. And so we're fighting to make sure that we can continue to have that creative ecosystem.
And that's where you come in.
I like how you're like, oh, not to go on too much, too long about this place that I love and that I want to, become the mayor of. It's like, yeah, bro,
go on about it.
Like, go off. Brag.
Well, cool. Well, Ishik, how about you? Vibing or venting today?
I don't know. It's a pretty big vent, I'm going to be honest, just like a prep for the listeners and viewers. To date this a little bit, America, Trump's administration, the regime, if you will, has launched strikes against Iran, and it's pretty fucked. The entire situation is fucked. I'm just in like a pretty shit mood because of that, and it's just bad. It's just really bad. Everything about everything that's going on with regards to the Trump administration is really bad, right? It's just been a string of really bad continuously. And I think it was a really positive thing to see people in the streets recently, standing up for the rights of their fellow human beings and citizens and non-citizens alike. But it's today's a bad day when it comes to that, right? So that's definitely weighing on my chest a bit. Obviously, we have space for both vibes and vents here at I Could Never, but it's definitely very front of mind right now, and I don't think I couldn't think of anything else. I was trying to be like, is this too much to bring to
it's happening.
The start of the conversation? But it's happening, right? Like we all know, all three of us, it's not like we're walking into this not aware of what's going on, and so it's definitely tough to have other conversations, but I think it's really important to still keep having conversations and keep fighting for the things that we can do, we can change, which brings us to our guest today, who has been doing quite a bit of fighting for his community. So, Willie, we'd love to get to know you a little bit more. And given that the context of this podcast is obviously a show about non-monogamy and the many ways it can look, we'd love to just hear a little bit more about how your non-monogamy has looked, and how you kind of identify with the concept.
Yeah, so I'm polyamorous. I kind of identify with solo poly and relationship anarchism. I was lucky enough to move into non-monogamy while being single. I just gotten out of a monogamous relationship. I felt so shitty, and I felt so sad and useless and a little bit worthless, not entirely, but I had to start to think for myself, why is it when I'm not in a relationship, do I feel like I'm less valuable as a person? Why is it that I've internalized this idea that if I'm not currently dating somebody, I am not a desirable human being? And I kind of had to unearth a lot of socialization I'd learned from monogamy. You're not good enough. No one really wants you. You're a loser. Ironically, polyamory for me and relationship anarchism for me really kind of broke down those layers and made me realize my first relationship is with myself, and I need to be good with that person at the end of the day. And I take that with me in all aspects of life, not just romantic, but political as well. I don't want to do things that I'm going to have to look at myself in the mirror for and be like, what are you doing? You're not living your values. There was something about the idea of centering my relationship with myself as a gateway to that really let me understand that, if one relationship begins and ends, that is not the end all be all of my own value as a human being. And it's not even a statement on the value of that relationship. Because another thing I feel like I internalized because of monogamy is if you date someone and you break up, that relationship was a failure. If you don't live together forever and die, then you failed. Because I think it really reduces the value of human connection so much, and the lessons we learn from each other, that it started me on this journey of understanding myself in a different way and understanding how I can connect with people that I've been doing and exploring for the last 10 years now.
Yeah. What was that like for you being single and discovering this? And then it's like, okay, I want this, but how do I talk to people about it? Was there awkwardness? How'd you get into the practice of it? Yeah.
I did it for a while without having any relationship, where I was just reading a lot and learning concepts and learning the language and being honestly so fascinated mentally by polyamory. And then when I had my first polyamorous relationship, we never dated anyone else, but we were no, you can do it. No, I support you. You go ahead, go on a date. Oh, you like that person? Try it. And then, but we were really still trying to figure out how to talk about it, how to feel about it. The first time I hooked up with somebody else who I was not in a relationship with, I remember I wrote a letter to my partner.
Was it a physical letter, a handwritten physical letter?
I think it was probably typed or an email or something. I don't know. And I wanted to really explain, I'm going to do this with this other person who I have a really strong connection with. But I want you to know this isn't a fault of yours. This isn't me saying you're not enough. This is me just exploring this thing that we both agreed to.
How was the letter received?
I think it was received well. It was received well, but the funny, ironic part was I was standing on the corner with me, my partner, this person I wanted to hook up with, and then our friend who I'd lived with before. He was an ex-roommate. And I remember we were all just standing on this corner, and I was like, all right, time to go. I'm going to go with this other person. And my friend was like, but wait, you're dating this other person. Why are you going with them? And I was like, no, we're just going to talk. We're going to go over there. And he's like, but wait, you're dating this person. Why aren't you going home with that person? I mean, it was super awkward in the moment because no one wanted to speak up and explain it. And I didn't either. My partner knew what was going on. It's really interesting to notice the ways in which people become these vessels to recreate and produce and perpetuate social norms. Like, he was genuinely confused and genuinely just trying to understand. But the way that it like functioned in that conversation was, this is the way the world works. You are with this person, you go home with that person. You are in a relationship, you don't walk away from them with another woman, etc. And the funniest and saddest part about it all is I did leave with that person, and then we didn't hook up that night because she felt so bad that we didn't explain it to him. I was like, no. I was like, this son of a gun ruined me twice in one night. No. I don't know. I very much appreciate that experience because it kind of forced me out of my comfort zone in a lot of ways. And now he like knows that I'm like very out in public about my non-monogamy. So much of polyamory has done that. I feel like made me confront things that I didn't know I was worried about, made me realize that I could have security in relationships that when I was monogamous would have seemed outrageous.
Yeah, so walk us through. So you were you decided when you were single that this is who you are. You dated one person for a long time. At what point did solo polyamory, did you feel like you were solo polyamorous the entire time, or did that realization come later?
When I first moved to Somerville, I was in a relationship that was polyamorous, and we were nesting partners. And then I started to date someone who lived down the street, which is super convenient. I mean, I definitely recommend if you can date someone who lives right down
date your
the
neighbors,
street.
folks.
Yeah, it was great. I was like, okay, it's midnight. I'm going to go. I'll see you later. I'm going to go to that house now. And I don't know. That was definitely a time where my polyamory I got to like see it really take shape in the form of like having multiple relationships at once, and like figure out what I liked, what I didn't like, how much juggling I could do when, life was busy by itself. And then now there's multiple partners involved, breaking down the idea of like ownership in relationships and the way that we have people try to have possession of other people was really like an entire like mental shift for me in terms of how I relate to people now.
So to this idea, I think a lot of people love the idea of if you love someone, let it go. And they like want to embody that. And then I talk with people who are like, yeah, but then their time management sucks and I feel neglected. And like, so in practice, there's, some struggle to not feel like materially threatened, by it. You mentioned the adjustment of juggling, like once your life was busy and you had a couple partners. So how did you find balance with that so that it still felt good?
I always try to like do self-examination about where my feelings are coming from in relationships. Like, am I feeling jealous because they're spending all this time with other people, or am I feeling jealous because we're not spending any time together? I think non-monogamous folks have gotten pretty good at understanding that jealousy is a tool, as much as any other emotion. And it can be weaponized negatively, but it also can really help us assess what's happening in our relationships. And from my side, I would always be like, is this something I need to take accountability for with myself? And that I'm just like upset because they're having all these good times with somebody else and I'm just chilling at home? Or is it because we haven't gotten time to be with each other and to really deepen this relationship in the ways that I wanted?
For listeners, I think that that's a great just summary, that idea of jealousy as a tool, right? And I think so often it's framed as a negative thing, right? It's just bad. And yeah, just like you said, just like any other emotion, it is a tool. What is it useful for? It's to tell us that something is off, right?
I like the distinction between like, am I upset that you're having a nice time with them, or am I upset because I want to spend time with you? And those things often get confused. And so when there's that distress of like, you're with this other person, it can be kind of a mirror or shine a light on like, wait, I want something with you. And maybe that's what we need to talk about. So I appreciate that distinction.
Yeah. Wisdom born out of real experience.
I would love to also know what it's like for you today, especially as you're running for mayor. Sounds like a busy life.
Yeah, it is a really busy life. And so, yeah, when during an election year, I don't really date that much, or like at all, pretty much. I uninstall all the dating apps off my phone. I like delete profiles. I like take myself off the market in every sense. Both so I'm not distracting myself, and also because I know I'm not going to be able to give as much as myself as I need to like have a real healthy and robust relationship. So currently it's on pause. I'm running for office. I'm a city councilor, and I have another job where I teach empowerment self-defense, and like I get like hit in the face with elbows and groin striked and eye striked all day, where I have full body armor, so it doesn't hurt me. But it's I got a lot going on, and so I'm like, I don't know how I could fit enough time to like give the necessary oxygen to a relationship to like see it fully blossom. I feel weird when people are like, "Oh, you're poly. You must have like what 2, 3, 4? Like how many?" And I'm like, "Dog, I'm tired. I got." That said, I have friends, and we are friendly to each other, and sometimes
Special ways.
things happen, and I have great relationship with most of my former partners, and like sometimes things happen there.
You're like
but
polysaturated at 0.
yeah, which it's funny being a city councilor and trying to date. Like I've been on apps and people have been like, "Oh, I voted for you," and I'm like, "Oh, snap!" Like,
Oh no. Okay.
So what does that mean now? Like, do we have to date? Like, if we don't date, are you gonna not vote for me? Like, what is
You have to please every constituent personally.
That's the
Thank you so much for your vote. I will be swiping left, unfortunately. However, this is in no way a commentary on you or your value, and I definitely appreciate your vote, and I hope to see you out on election day. Thank you so much.
Oh my God.
I write each of them a handwritten letter, and I'm like, thank you for your service.
You touched on after you started to question these things, and there were new hurdles, right? And I do think, many of the listeners and people who engage with Genevieve's content are earlier in their stages, and they are encountering those hurdles right now. Do you recall any specific hurdles that were coming up at the time after you started to question these things?
I mean, I remember when I was dating someone named Anna, going on a date with someone else named Anna, but I didn't know it was a date at first. And so it wasn't
We don't always know.
I met up with somebody who had taken a picture of me at a protest. And so I met up with her. We looked at the pictures. It was great. It was cool. And then we met up again. And the first time I was like, oh, this person's cool. Second time I was like, oh, what's happening here? What is going on? And I realized when she was like, I would invite you in, but I have a roommate or whatever it was. I was like, oh no, these are dates. I should tell her that I'm in a relationship. And I remember when I told her, she was mad. She was like, you basically like misled me, and maybe I had these feelings for you, but I can't have these feelings for you because you're dating someone. And I'm like, but I'm polyamorous, so you can do whatever you want. But but like, I learned very quickly that I was never given a manual to talk about my relationships in this like very self-aware way and with intentionality. And that's something I very, very much appreciate non-monogamy for, is it sort of forces you to think more intentionally. You're going to hit hurdles, and sometimes it's going to be hard. Sometimes it's not always going to go the right way the first time. But again, it's a growing experience. It's like, I mean, especially just like being at that beginning stage and like trying to figure it out for yourself, that, it gets better, in my opinion.
We'll insert a rainbow and sparkles.
Please insert rainbow. But there's one that I feel like I have to bring up because of the name of this podcast. I'm like, how much do I say? I don't want to out too many folks. But I remember being in a work environment many years ago, when I was relatively new to polyamory, but I'd done it for a couple years at that point. And one of my coworkers outed me as polyamorous. because they are polyamorous, and they're like, yeah, I'm polyamorous, like Willie. And I'm like, why did you?
You're like, hey, why am I catching strays?
Catching strays over here. What the fuck?
Hey, I'm just trying to, get by, learn how to do this job, etc., etc. Why are you pulling me into this? But because of that, I ended up having to talk about it to my coworkers a bit more. And I remember one of them, she asked me about it, and she was like, so you're polyamorous. Like, what's that like? How's that work? And I was like, well, this is how it works for me. And there's, a lot of different ways it can work. It's kind of like designing your own relationship. Here's all these concepts and formations and language, et cetera, et cetera. And I remember her being like, yeah, I could never do that. I'm too jealous. I get too in my head. And 6 years later, we were meeting up again to talk. And she was like, hey, just so you know, I'm like in an open relationship now. And I was like, oh,
how the turntables.
I'm trying it out, and it's kind of working. I like it. And
okay.
It's one of the like best joys in the world to me when people realize that they have so much more capacity in them to do certain things than they thought. And again, I feel like I was the same way. When I was monogamous, I didn't have the concept of polyamory, but when I first heard about it, I was like, yeah, I'm a big believer in live and let live. I was like, cool, poly people exist, fine. But I didn't think I had the capacity or the mindset to be able to do something like that at the time. I didn't think that. And I'm sure my friend and coworker who was like, I could never do that. She wasn't even trying to be dismissive, I don't think, although she did come off that way. But when you learn that you have the capacity to do more than you thought or live in a way that you didn't realize you could, I think it is one of the like most beautiful examples of like growth and expansion of a person. And so when she told me that, I wasn't like, told you so.
I mean,
I would have been tempted.
I would have been like a little tiny bit.
But I was just really happy and excited for her because I knew that she was entering, I mean, not the easiest way to live life per se, but one in which she was going to be able to have more love in her life, I thought. And I love the transition from I could never to, and now I am. And now we're doing it. And this feels good,
Honestly, I agree. And I think even just the transition from I could never to maybe I could, right? Like the recognition that you can be the most you that you can be. I don't know. I don't want to sound too trite, but like you can really be, you can design a life for yourself that fits you correctly, right? The systems, the dominant systems of society might try to drill into you, us individuals, that we can't, but we can. But as just a side note, I do think it's very funny because more often than not, I see it this way, where like you didn't bring up this fucking conversation, you didn't like tell everyone about it.
They came to you,
and you didn't start the fucking conversation in the car, right? Yeah. She starts it, and then she's like, "Yeah, but I could never," and it's like, motherfucker, like,
did you need me for this?
Yeah, seriously, right? This is a this is a you thing. You're handling this.
Well, I'm curious. You said that there was a time you thought you couldn't do it, or you thought you didn't have that capacity. What changed?
Yeah, I mean, specifically with me, like I thought I would be too jealous. Like, well, I didn't say any of this because I was never that gross. I would put it, but there's a lot of like I think cliched guys who are like, I couldn't share my woman, or
I could never let my woman get fucked by some other guy.
Like it wasn't, I never said that, I never thought that per se, but like it was along the same lines of I would get too jealous and too angry if my partner was with somebody else. I don't know if I would have been able to handle that, but it took having experiences where I really looked inside of myself and said, what is it that's making me unhappy in this moment? Is it because I don't have a partner, or is it because I think that I'm not valuable without a person? Am I unhappy because I'm not possessing another human being and saying that's my person, and no one is doing that to me? Or is it because I need to learn to like be able to generate my own sense of self-satisfaction and like worth without other people doing it for me. And once I started to ask those questions and like spend a little bit of time with myself in that way, it took down some of my, I think, biggest barriers for trying polyamory out.
Yeah. So you mentioned that it kind of was forcing you to confront some ideas of ownership. So once a partner started spending time with other people, did that come up for you? These old monogamous kind of feelings?
So when I first had to meet my partner's partner, my metamor, the first time that happened, I remember being really nervous about it ahead of time and like really unsure of like how it would go. Again, I'm a cis man. I was dating someone who was dating someone else who was a cis man. And I just remember, oh, male socialization. Oh no, what if I meet this guy and I don't like him? And then we fight. Like, what if it gets like the most dramatic thing happens?
Who's going to be the alpha?
Yeah, I was like, oh no, what's going to happen? I'm going to meet this guy and get pissed off, and then we're going to like destroy our relationships. And then I met this person and I realized, oh, this person is completely different from me. I don't like have anything really negative to say about them, like generally speaking. I don't know them very well, so maybe I would. But it was really helpful for me when I met my first metamor to realize that my partner wasn't just trying to replace me with someone else, like a different version of myself. It taught me, oh, wait, this person actually just likes different things, and that's okay. I got very comfortable with the idea that I don't have to fit all of everyone's needs. I can just fit the ones that I fit. And if they want to explore other dynamics that fulfill them in other ways, that's good too.
Yeah. And it's super clear, like that a lot of it is also tied to self-acceptance about your own values, who you are. I'll speak for myself. I know for me, it's been a lot of like accepting that, I'm not going to be everyone's cup of tea, right? Some people are going to look at me or hear me or talk to me and be like, this guy is obnoxious. And I was like, okay, that's great. Like, I'm glad that you know now to not talk to me, because I know tons of people fucking love me. I happen to think I'm pretty great. So that journey of confronting the fear of replacement can be really instrumental in that self-love, and self-actualization of, this is who I am and I'm pretty great.
The idea of like having these relationships and people being able to have free range and then also coming back, that to me is real security in so many ways. Like this idea that, they can have multiple partners, but they're still coming back here because there's obviously something that they really value about this relationship. And that's something I think even when I was monogamous, I probably, I was worried about, because like so much of how we're taught about relationships is built on, I think, a foundation of insecurity and fear of loss, of failure, of rejection, and the kind of natural proving of like, no, I'm coming back home, or I'm going to meet you after the date. We're going to talk about it, or we're going to, discuss anything we need to repair or heal, so we can continue this journey together. I think it's so reassuring, I think, for me.
I think a lot of this conversation, especially with regards to your relationship to non-monogamy, to polyamory, has been about this idea of like kind of self-actualization, realizing who you are, what you want, and then designing that life for yourself. And so kind of in the spirit of that, when you aren't maybe so busy in the future, when you're not running a very successful and to be one race for mayor, when you have a little bit more time, and if you had a magic wand of how you would design your life, your romantic life, like, is there an idea of what that would look like in your mind? Some specific structure, some specific way that would look, that you would that you can imagine, or is it just sort of like a whatever comes my way, I'm open to kind of thing?
Yeah, if it's funny you add in that last part, because if I was younger, I would have been like, whatever happens, happens. And, I'm going to go with the flow. And I'm pretty go with the flow when it comes to like social and interpersonal stuff. But I definitely have realized there are certain things I want out in life, that like for long-term partners, like you don't have to sign up for all of it, but some of it's gonna, you're in the splash zone, so you're gonna get.
I like that. I'm gonna keep that one.
I've never really had like what I imagine to be like full-blown like kitchen table polyamory, but I would love to have that one day. It's funny, a lot of my exes like really like each other. I remember the first time like I introduced two people. Actually, I think I was dating one of them, and then I introduced them to an ex, and she was like, "We're gonna unionize," and I was like, "Oh no, they're gonna like gang up on me."
No, all your exes. Oh no.
Wait. I'm sorry. Does that make you like the bourgeois of this relationship?
Yeah, they're the proletariat. I'm the few, they're the many. I would love to have space where people can like either cohabitate or like just be regular parts of each other's lives, romantically and otherwise, be able to have that regularity to it. I would like that for multiple relationships, so that they feel reinforcing in a way, of each other. But I also, I don't know, besides being a socialist and being an abolitionist and being polyamorous and being a queer city councilor, like I'm pretty normie aside from like
I guess normie is relative.
It's very relative. I'm a Somerville normie kind of, maybe. But like, I don't know, when I was a little kid, I was like, I want to get married and I want to have kids, and like I think I still do want all the same things I did when I was younger. It's just that how that's going to look ultimately with the way that I'm living now is probably going to look differently than how I thought about it when I was 5. But like, I still want so many of the things that I think are, typical like American family thing, except there's probably going to be more people involved, which frankly, I mean, I don't have kids, but I've seen kids. They're a lot of work. It'd be helpful to have more than 2 people.
I've seen kids.
I've seen them.
Yeah.
They're something.
They're around. I've seen them.
I've met them once or twice, and I have 6 nieces and nephews, so I've also like been involved with like seeing them go from this to this, and it's pretty wild. But like, I would love folks who are either really into that, or like I don't want to be like a main caregiver, but I can like be on the side and come around sometimes. I can like, every like once a month babysit or something. I want to really build like an ecosystem of like supports in my life, both romantically and otherwise. And I think polyamory is going to play hopefully a focal point in that, but it's to be determined. I gotta wait and see like what comes my way.
You have a very unique position amongst all of the guests we've had about, when it comes to community building, you really have a very active role in that, right? Because you are really working hard to shape the community you live in, that you call home, to fit your values and to protect the members of that community, self-included, right? So, not to dance around it, you have Somerville is kind of notorious for its protections of polyamorous people. And I'd love to just hear a little bit about some of the process of that from the start to now.
I'm really grateful to live in this community, because when I push for a lot of these issues, when I fight on what a lot of people would call the fringes politically, my community is already with me on most of these things. The people who are not polyamorous or non-monogamous either know someone who is or know someone who knows someone who is. And it got to a point where in 2020, Somerville did become the first city in the United States to pass a domestic partnership ordinance that allowed more than 2 people to be in a domestic partnership. When the city was trying to make this domestic partnership ordinance, it was going to be a very normie domestic partnership ordinance. And then my colleague, JT Scott, who is polyamorous also, asked in one of the meetings, wait, why only 2? Mm-hmm. And their counselors, I think particularly knowing JT and knowing their family relationship structure, were like, yeah, I don't really have an argument for why it should only be two people. Why not more than two people? And it really just took someone asking that question to change the dynamic of how this law would be implemented and to really set the course in a lot of ways for this burgeoning movement of non-monogamous folks who want to have legal rights and protections. I was just a resident of Somerville at the time, and I remember seeing this cross like the headlines. I saw it on like CNN and all these things, all these national news outlets. And I remember Ariel and I, who were living with each other at the time, were like, oh my gosh, did you see this? This is incredible. Like, we live in the place that is honoring our relationship. For folks who've been polyamorous for a long time, when I started, the idea of having rights, legal protections and rights was so far beyond the horizon that it wasn't even a real conversation because of the fear that it would bring more scrutiny and more stigma to actually try to argue for those protections. Where I came in as a counselor to kind of fill the gaps that domestic partnership ordinance created. Because we had a situation where more than two people could be in a domestic partnership. But if they were, there were no legal protections around that. You know, if, for example, if the city of Somerville had an employee who was in a domestic partnership with three other people, legally speaking, the city could just be like, yeah, no, fired. Now, this is a city that I would hope would never have done something like that. But the fact that they could, the fact that there's not any employment protections around this thing that we have put on a national radar was an oversight. In 2023, we passed, I want to say 4 or 5 polyamorous laws for protections in housing, policing, and employment for all city employees in Somerville.
Wow. How did that show up for policing also?
So if someone is polyamorous and having an interaction with the cops are not allowed to use that as a basis for any kind of, judgments against them. And that was really important for us to include because so many polyamorous people with children especially worry that any interactions with law enforcement might result in losing custody of a child or having their family split up. And I know so many parents, particularly, who are not out because of that worry about what it might do to their family and to their children.
Yeah, I know that, people definitely are like, oh, what like they can't fathom the idea that there can be repercussions, social or like otherwise, sometimes more tangible than just social repercussions. But, somebody thinks that it's disgusting or wrong, and then they call child services, and then that child services agent also thinks it's disgusting and wrong. They have the authority to take your fucking kids away, right? And so I think those kinds of protections are really, really important. I thought, you were describing the initial set of laws or the initial law that were introduced in 2020. And you highlighted how it just kind of took this one question of like, why not? But I'll actually push a little further and say that it wasn't just that there was this one question. It was that they knew someone in the room right there who they understood wasn't some degenerate or crazy person or some fringe freak. There was their colleague, their friend even, who was asking this question. And so, like you said, they knew him. Like, it's a lot harder to discriminate or harm somebody or like deny them potential rights or protections when you're looking at them right in the face and you know them and even like them. And so, I never am a proponent of pushing somebody to out themselves if they are not comfortable or they don't feel safe, right? Like, that is always top priority. Number one is you have to, you have to protect yourself first and foremost, right? But the degree to which people are able to and willing to speak up and let the people in their life, their family, their coworkers, their friends know, hey, I'm polyamorous, or any kind of non-normative. I'm trans, I'm gay, whatever it is, right? And that's been the basis, the foundation of so many of these fights for for protections and rights, because it's a lot harder to deny someone their rights when it's like they're right in front of you, you know they're a part of that group, and you like them, right? So, this isn't to be a PSA to tell people to do it, but like it's definitely an added benefit.
Yeah, it will. I'm just so heartened by your story too, because the idea, I think a lot of times we can see news headlines of like, oh, wow, that's a great thing that happened. And then you boil it back down. It's like someone was just in a room. One person was in a room and asked one question, and like the value of just being in that room, and it really doesn't take this mob of people to, fight for it. It's like not always that we could slowly in a kind of boring setting, probably, I assume. I was imagining like squeaky chairs and an air conditioner like and no art on the walls, and it's just like boring. And then it has this ripple effect where you're talking to your girlfriend at the time of like, wow, we're being protected, So I'm just heartened by that, because the entry point to that sounds so doable. And I think people don't always picture the entry point to that,
When someone is in that room and has this knowledge base and experience because of who they are and can actually bring that to bear on a policy discussion, like that is the goal. That is why these systems that are not all redeemable, I'll tell you that, but the ones that we can use to our advantage, it is really important to have folks in there who can speak from a perspective that is not already being represented. Because it just took one person who had this experience, who other people knew had this experience, to ask that one question to legally change the course of, I don't want to overblow it, but U.S. history in a sense. And then 3 years later, when we passed our non-discrimination ordinances, we had people who flew in from L.A., took trains down from New York or up from New York. People who came from far beyond Somerville to literally just be in the room to watch that law pass. And that was such a powerful, powerful moment to be part of something that I know so many people didn't even think was possible. And it was because we had someone, in this case me, who was like, wait, we need to do more on this. Like, who's looking into this? What can we do here? Who do I need to talk to? Oh, you got to talk to those people. Maybe we'll get around to it. No, I'm going to talk to them today because this is important. And it's something that we have the power to actually do. I'm a firm believer as a city councilor that when people trust you enough to give you a little bit of power, it's your responsibility to take that power and to use it to its maximalist benefit for those people. Can we do something about this? Yeah. Okay, then let's do it. Let's just do as much as we can with the time that we have, because, maybe in November, everyone's like, yeah, we're tired of this guy. Let's send him home. But while I'm in this seat, I'm going to fight like hell to make sure that people are safe, feel honored and protected by their neighbors. And the values that we all share are going to be pushed for with real fervor on the electoral political level.
The fight for rights is not some isolated, like you do this one form of rights or this one form of power, right? It's like we need to use all forms of our power to gain all forms of these rights for all people. And I see that in your campaign, in your platform, in your time as a counselor. I don't really have a question. Was there a question there?
He's admiring you.
Is it good? It's good. Good job.
Thank you. No, it is really good. And, for the listen only folks, I'm Black. You won't be able to hear that necessarily, but I'm Black. And the struggle for racial justice in the United States has always been one in which we've stood on the shoulders of giants. We've benefited from those who came before us. And the fights that they fought made it easier to fight the fights that we're in now. And that same principle is true intersectionally. The right for same-sex marriage, in a lot of ways, is legally based upon the right to marry outside of your race in the United States. And the rights to not have racial profiling is deeply intertwined with the right to not be profiled based on your country of origin or your color or all these things. And so all of these fights push each other forward and like help build upon each other. And I feel very connected to that history and the reminder that it's not just something long, long ago that, some other people did some other place. It's something that we live in the shadows of and are building today. And we have, I think, personally, a responsibility to do that ethically and unambiguously to push forward these movements. And any little bit of contribution that we can do to that is going to make the fights for the next generation that much easier, I think.
With, all the political situation in America with regards to ICE raids and anti-immigration sentiment and the overreach of the Trump regime.
And fascism.
And I think that has... And fascism, right? Not to dance around it. It's particularly felt in Somerville. I know Ms. Öztürk is from Somerville. She was abducted in Somerville as one of the, for listeners who aren't familiar, one of the first very high-profile abductions of a legal resident of the United States by ICE.
She wrote, along with, I think, 4 other people, an op-ed that was really just saying, hey, students at our school voted to divest from companies that were contributing to violations of international law. We said to do this, the university should follow suit with the vote that we took. She basically said, I believe in democracy and I don't believe in war crimes. When I was watching her bail hearing, after she'd been in prison for over a month, over 1,000 miles away, in a cell that exacerbated her asthma, according to doctors, the judge in that case said the only piece of evidence that the federal government put in the case was that op-ed. It was the only piece of evidence they ever said, put forward to say that she should be deported from this country. It is beyond parody and it's beyond appalling and connected back to the people of Palestine even more. If we live in a democracy, and I remember saying this a lot during our last election, if we live in a democracy and we can't even stop a genocide that our country is funding, what is the point of this democracy? I understand why people feel downtrodden when they think about all the things that are going on, but I also just want to say that everyone has the power to impact the world a little bit better every single day. And as all these things are happening, if we stand up and if we know our neighbors and if we fight together, we can get them out. ICE has actually come to Somerville High School multiple times in the last few months, and we've chased them out at least once, if not twice, just by having neighbors show up and really cause a commotion.
It's so easy with the fire hose of awful shit we hear all the time to, out of almost necessity, compartmentalize and see things as a concept and see things as a statistic or a set of boxes that we're like talking about, a set of policies. But when it drills down into the real human experience, the real human tragedy, sometimes it can get really overwhelming, but it also can be really heartening when we see the humanity of like helping, just reaching out. It's been on my mind a little bit actually, because just recently Genevieve had a post that went kind of viral on Instagram about the Edelweiss Piraten, the Edelweiss Pirates, and it was a resistance group. It was like a youth resistance group in Germany. There was enough people that I saw make the same comment, which really got under my fucking skin. And now I get a chance as another event time. Ooh. Which was that they were like, yeah, but like, what did that end? Did that like end the Nazi regime? Like, did that stop? Like, it took a war to stop the Nazis. It took an army. It's like, yeah, sure, man. But also that probably helped a fucking person, right?
Yeah.
Like, if that car didn't run and it got to the place late, that's one person who maybe fucking survived. Yeah. Like, how heartless can you be to see any form of resistance that can potentially stop or slow down or, impede the actions of a person trying to do horrors in the world and not see some effort having an effect. And so I think, you know, it can be easy to see the fire hose of horrible shit and then to feel like it's, oh, we can't do anything because I can't stop the entire hose. It's like, bro, I mean, you can get a bucket. It is always very heartening to see people like yourself who are not like, oh, well, fuck it, I'm throwing my hands up, I can't do anything. It's like, no, I can do something, right? I can do something, and I'm going to do what I can do. And I really respect that a lot.
Just, for me, especially at this point in my life, like, I do not have time for nihilism. I don't have time for the depressing nihilism of there's nothing we can do in the world. And I don't have time for this, like, cool nihilism where it's like, yeah, things suck, but, like, you know, what are you going to do about it? It doesn't, like, it's not going to actually help. We live in a world made of systems that were all created by human beings, whether it's capitalism, whether it's our housing market, whether it's war. These are all things that people made and people can unmake. And I've been very lucky to be able to see how even a small group of people can have huge impacts on their community, or even beyond their community. And I just truly believe that we all have the potential to contribute to the world and make it a more positive place. And sure, there's a lot of stuff that I personally can't do or can't affect to the fullest extent, but there's always a little bit. And, you know, I fight for that little bit day by day.
Thank you so much, Willie, for joining us today. It was so nice to learn more about you and also learn more about your work.
I feel very appreciative to have the opportunity to talk to both of you. The work of normalizing non-monogamy, the work of, like, exploring the different histories that are maybe out of reach for a lot of people, like, I think it's really important. And I am grateful to be, like, one small part of that longer story with you all. And I don't know, I wish you both all the best and hope that, you know, the work you do continues to, like, inspire people, make people feel, like, excited and hopeful.
Thank you so much.
I mean, I throw the same thing back to you. I can't tell you how many people were so inspired and touched by some of the work that you've done in Somerville. So thank you for your work and for inspiring fucking me. How dare you say I inspire
dare you compliment us?
No, you inspire me. Yeah. Other way around.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to invite you to tell everybody where they can find you, tell everybody that, you know, is in your community about the election, but where people can follow you and learn more.
Yeah. So if you're on Instagram, Willie for Somerville, that's Willie, Willie, for FOR, Somerville, SOMERVILLE, and willieforsomerville.com. Like, there you'll be able to find my link tree, which has, like, how you can donate if you live in Somerville, if you want a lawn sign, and how you can phone bank as well. We really, really are trying to have a mayor who is a renter, who actually lives the struggles of most people, who comes from these marginalized communities, queer, person of color, and who is going to fight for a future that we can all live in. And would love that support and help of anyone in the United States or who is a U.S. citizen to support us.
We're definitely not going to beat radicalism with milquetoast shit. We gotta push back a lot harder. And, you know, Willie's our man there. So,
and for everyone who doesn't live nearby, just follow along to be inspired. Maybe you'll work locally similarly.
And donate. And donate money. In addition to going to check out willieforsomerville.com and his Instagram, if you are looking for more polyamory content, Genevieve, as always, is on TikTok and Instagram at Chill Polyamory. She's also on YouTube, where she does long-form video essays about representation of non-monogamy in media. That is also Chill Polyamory on YouTube.
So if you want to check out those projects and support all those projects, as well as this podcast, you can go to patreon.com/chillpolyamory. That is also where I give you bonus goodies, extra private videos, personal stories, as well as the option for one-on-one pen pals and peer support. So that is patreon.com/chillpolyamory.
Also a treasure trove of valuable resources.
Hundreds of resources. I've been posting every week since 2018.
There you go. 7 years. So if you want more resources to get through some of those struggles we're talking about.
You're in salesmanship mode today.
I mean, we're talking about field organizing. I'm just like, oh, wait, just one more second. Do you know your polling location? So
you're in such a better mood than when we started, too.
It's just the stress of setting everything up. Anyways, on this much more positive note, this has been I Could Never, and for everyone listening, remember that just because you've never done something before doesn't mean that you can't do it.
Bye.